1 minute, there is some problem. 1 minute.
Looks like lag.
1 minute. Namaste. I welcome you all in today's webinar on women from constraints to empowerment. Today we have distinguished guests from 4 countries: USA, Mexico, India, and Sri Lanka. At first, I would like to request the president of our society, Professor S. Narayan, to give a welcome address.
Okay, I welcome you all individually, Sharad Mohanji, Alfonso Pancho Carmendejo from Mexico, Dr. Jyoti Bindal, Dr. Annapurna Dave, but she has not joined us. Annapurna Dave, Dr. Shashi Bala, Dr. Mrs. Deep Sikha, Sayuri Pereira, and Dr. A.K. Pandey. I am thankful to Sharad Mohanji because he agreed to come on a very short notice. He came and Sharad Mohan is a very good social scientist and he is also an author of I think 5 or 6 fictions. Sharad Mohanji is a great writer, uh, Indian writer based in USA. So Sharad Mohanji he has written a book on Bihar, that is rebooting Bihar. And that book was sold like a hot cake. So that book is also in Hindi. So he has equal command on Hindi and English. So today he will be giving us the inaugural, he will be addressing us. And Alfonso Pancho is from Mexico and he is an activist. He is an anthropologist also, and he is an activist. His primary responsibility is uh, he has made 2 or 3 social laboratory in which he is doing some experiment on Gandhiji. That is on peace and non-violence. These are the 2 agenda on which he is working, and he is in close contact with the international agencies, organizations interested in peace. So I welcome these 2, and there is Dr. Sayuri Pereira from Sri Lanka. She is a clinical psychologist. She is also a practicing medical doctor, but she is a psychiatrist. So
Neeraj, looks like it's refreshing every time. Is it happening from my side or it's happening from everybody's?
No, sir. Actually, only you are getting disconnected. Others are not getting disconnected.
It's refreshing every time.
I don't.
I'm not
I
sure
don't
why.
know. Yes,
Give
sir. I am not.
okay.
we see that he gets
Um,
connected. So you
yeah, it's
now I will
I can
today the
get
topic is
started.
on the from constraint to empowerment for the women. We have during the pandemic period, the women are playing important role in uh, fighting with the COVID-19 and helping others. Here we have four doctors today in our panel who are also fighting. They are the corona warriors. They are fighting with you, and they have spared some time for this webinar. The development of women cannot be considered as a complete one unless women of the rural India, tribal India, or the indigenous population globally are not properly developed. So that is very important. That's what I have been writing since long. So when this webinar was visioned by Dr. Jyoti Bindal, she thought and she suggested that we can have a webinar on this subject. So I greatly agreed because uh, today, as she said, today is the Mother's Day, and for everybody, mother is very important. So we offer our uh, good wishes to all the mothers and all the women for whom we wish empowerment, for which we are working for last 60 years to empower the women in different fields. Now, since we have a short of time, so I will not go into detail, and I will request Shri Sharad Mohanji to address his inaugural lecture. Shri Sharad Mohanji.
Okay. So, so thank you, Dr. Narayan, and all the eminent panelists. This is Sharad Mohan from USA. Right now, I have logged in from my hotel in Indianapolis, so there may be some issues with my logins. If drop out, please pardon me because this is Wi-Fi. So let me get started. So happy Mother's Day to everybody, all the panelists. Is women from constraint to empowerment. So I have prepared a little written script because of the time. So I'll go through that very quickly, and if the session permits, we'll have. And also I'm to Mexico, so we'll talk later. Okay, so women empowerment. This is a great topic which touches 50% of the world human population. Vedanand sir asked me to speak on this topic. It excited. It made me talk about women, their implement. Who am I to talk about our own? This topic, the topic time to speak well. So there is no dearth of literature in the digital world on women empowerment, but it always ends up with mixed views, both positive and negative. To begin with, let us consider the Constitution of India gives us equal rights to women, like the right to vote, right to equality, abortion, luck, right of just can by check there's law in favor of women and children. That women are empowered in public schools, parliament, and what not. Name the entrepreneurs, the scientists, activists, a whole family, a whole household. In ancient India, women enjoyed mostly equal status with men. Now we get on that later. They were educated, and when I say ancient, it's before medieval age. So they were educated, they were trained in the art of welfare by choice. The read finds mention about a warrior queen named training in the art of warfare. She lost a leg in the battle, and after the leg revives her spirit. She resumes the battlefield exploits, a true example of women empowerment. Furthermore, in ancient India, women had the freedom to choose their husbands at a matured age. So I'm mentioning mature age. Swayamvar system wherein women had the liberty to live choice. Names that immediately comes are of Sita, Damayanti, Kunti, Draupadi, Sanyogita, and the list goes on. Marriage is not the only yardstick for much
I think there is still a connection issue from his side. His voice is also breaking.
I think we've lost Sharad Mohanji's voice. We can't see
Yes.
him either.
Yeah. Sad Mohan sir?
Can you hear me? Anil?
Namaste. Namaste Pandey sir. Welcome.
Looks like everybody is refreshing.
Yes, Sad Mohan sir. Sad Mohan sir.
I'm here. Neil, can you hear me?
Sad Mohan
Neil,
sir, your
can you
voice
hear
is
me?
breaking. Yeah, but your voice is breaking.
Any-
Sad Mohan sir, your voice is breaking. You are not audible.
Neeraj, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now audible.
Something wrong, yeah.
Sir, if there is an internet issue, then you kindly switch off your camera and then voice will be clear. If there is low connectivity in that case.
I think we can get started with the next speaker. I can come after that. Let me get this camera fixed, if that is the
Okay.
thing.
Okay, no problem.
Now,
We can get
I
started
think,
with the next speaker, if that is the case.
okay, now it will be Mr. Pancho, na?
Yeah.
Neeraj-ji?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pancho, now you please deliver your address.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. Hello, it's a pleasure. It's a great honor being here. Thank you so much, Narayan Bhai, Society for Empowerment, for this event, for this sharing ideas about women, and especially me as a man. I'm glad that you invited me to share I've been doing some research. I'm an anthropologist, and I've been doing research about feminist and activism in Latin America, especially in Mexico. I'm from Mexico, but I want to bring you some ideas or some of the history of the recent feminist movement. And I understand feminism as a way to change gender relationships and women empowerment. So I've been researching about how different social movements in Latin America, especially, are very are driven and especially are focused on women's rights and gender violence. Latin America is sadly, it's a shame, but we are one of the regions in the world with more levels of gender violence, with one of the highest levels of gender violence. We have in Mexico, especially feminicides, like around 10 feminicides a day, rape, sexual harassment, and different kinds of gender violence, from domestic to sexual to public to even in the workspaces. There are a lot of harassment and violence against women. So what happened? Women became empowered, and instead of accepting this situation, they are going to the streets. I want to share a quick presentation. I think I can do it here. Okay, so can you see this? Can you see the presentation?
No, no.
Let me-
Kindly select the presentation and share
Yeah,
it.
I already
You
did.
click on share button.
Okay, wait. Okay, now I think, can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go quick in this because I know that I don't have that much time. So now the feminist movement in Latin America, it's having different brands and different, of course, different causes. Each of them has some specific issue to address. In Argentina, they are called the Green Wave, and they are using a green scarf, as a symbol of women's rights, especially the right for abortion. They want legal abortion. It's not about being in favor, not about abortion. It's just that women has the right to do whatever they want with their bodies and with their lives, and that's what it's in discussion, because many women die because of illegal interruption of the pregnancy. There are also indigenous feminism, especially in Bolivia, Ecuador, the Afrofeminism in Colombia, Brazil, and the Caribbean, that talks about different gender, but also ethnic and racial and social, economical context that they intercross, that they interact, so they produce exclusion. Women in civil resistance, well, women have been always active in movements against violence, against social injustice, as we can remember Rosa Parks in the United States, that she started the Montgomery bus boycott. We also have the Madres de Plaza de Mayo in Argentina, a group of mothers, of women that were asking justice and truth about the lives of the sons disappeared during the dictatorship in Argentina. We have also the great example of Liberia, of these women that ended the Taylor dictatorship and the war, and using non-violence action, non-violence methods, what we call civil resistance. And also in India, we have this Chipko movement that was aiming to, to protect the land and the trees and the villages. So we have been seen in the history and all over the world how women have been leaders of social movements and of this process of resistance. So what do we have in Latin America is that women have organized, self-organized, and are actually not being part of a social movement. It's because but they are actually the ones who organize and start and demand justice and the end of violence, and they are the leaders of this movement. So I want to show you these few examples, three mainly. What this is, one is in Chile. It's a collective. It's a performance art group that it's called Aesthesis, and they do this performance. This was a performance called "A Rapist in Your Way" that was replicated all over the world. I want to show you a little piece of it. Well, it's a very interesting performance, and the idea of that performance was to denounce rape and understanding rape as a social um, mechanism of domination. It's like all the whole system, the whole patriarchal and system works in a way of raping us all the time. So the idea of that was to denounce gender violence, but at the same time, the oppression that the whole system creates against women. There are some pictures about the green wave in Argentina. This is in Argentina. They are looking for free and legal abortion. So it's more about a human right and a right to have your control over your own body. We also have in Mexico a great wave of activism and feminism, and that has been called the Pink Litter Revolution. And it had became a symbol, the pink litter, as a way to denounce violence, but also to empower women. So they throw to even police chiefs. They are doing these graffitis all over the city, talking about like how the visual culture can also be a challenge to masculinity. No? So they are doing this, especially in monuments, in historical monuments, that always emphasize the role of men in the history, but hiding how women have participated or been part of the history. If we remember in the Black Lives Matter movement all over the world, one of the main things that they were doing were like throwing down monuments for slave traders or people who were racist, or those symbols of race violence, right? Of racism and slavery. So in this way, feminists in Mexico are doing something similar. That like by graffitiing the monuments, they're trying to question the history, how it has been built through a man perspective. And they have done different kinds of activities, these written clotheslines that they denounce gender violence through these clotheslines. And this is the 8M protest. This was before the pandemic. Actually, this was on 2019, I think, or even 20, but it was the last one because, during the lockdown, this happened. But there were huge protests all over Latin America. They called for a general women's strike. So, yeah, we have a huge movement of feminism in Latin America. And it's what I wanted to share, that women are being very active and challenging to the status quo, to the patriarchal system, to the men dominance, and especially against violence. So I consider all of these examples of peace building through activism, direct action, and civil resistance. And all of them are part of this process of peace building. So, well, this is a perspective, a view from Latin America. And thank you very much for all your attention. And I hope we can continue this discussion and share more. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you very much. Now you have a presentation on Mexico and the Latin American women. But I was more interested to that you will say something about your social laboratory on Gandhi, and maybe in some other webinar we will talk about them, because that is of great importance for those who are interested in Gandhi, how we are mobilizing these social gatherings, the peoples, and teaching them the theory of Gandhi, practicing the non-violence and truth in their day-to-day life. So once again, I thank you very much, and I will try to see you shortly in some other meeting. Now,
Nayan sir,
huh,
um, Sarad Mohan sir's connectivity issue is there because there is thunderstorm at the place where he is right now. So once he will again try, he is connected right now. So once he will again try, if it works, it's okay. Otherwise, maybe we will invite him next time. Sarad Mohan sir, can you listen us?
हेलो शरद मोहन जी, आप सुन सकते हैं हम लोगों को? शरद मोहन जी,
Can you listen? Can you
अच्छा
hear me?
Yeah. You're audible, sir. You are audible.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Where I'm staying is a very severe thunderstorm. So,
oh, I see.
Indianapolis. I just sent a picture to Neeraj ji. It's like really big thunderstorm. तो आवाज शायद सिग्नल बार बार कट रही है. I think you guys can continue. अगर you know, please
ठीक है,
continue. I think आवाज नहीं
हम
आएगी
लोग आपका
because of the
अभी 8 बजे तक है, अगर आपका थंडर स्टॉर्म उस समय तक थोड़ा ठीक हो जाता है तो आप फिर बाद में ज्वाइन कर लेंगे.
Sure. Okay.
ठीक है,
ठीक है.
ओके,
ठीक है,
थैंक यू. तो ये हम लोग डॉक्टर ए के पांडे साहब का वेलकम करते हैं, हमारे पैट्रन हैं. आप ये शरद मोहन जी थे, बड़े लेखक हैं. इनकी किताब अभी बिहार पे आई है, रीबूटिंग ऑफ बिहार, जो बिहार के इलेक्शन के ठीक पहले आई थी. और वो किताब एक दिन में 1000 कॉपी बिकी वहाँ अमेरिका में, और यहाँ हिंदुस्तान में भी बिकी उसकी एक दिन में. मेरा ख्याल है 700-800 कॉपी यहाँ भी बिका. तो ये बड़े ऑथर हैं, वो साइंटिस्ट भी हैं और लिखते भी हैं, हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों में वो फिक्शन लिखते हैं, और गांधी जी पे भी वो काम कर रहे हैं. और दूसरे जो अभी पांचों हैं वो एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट हैं, और वो एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं हमारा गांधी जी की प्रिंसिपल पे. सोशल लेबोरेटरी चलाते हैं मेक्सिको में, लैटिन अमेरिका में. वो उस पे अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं. गांधी जी के साथ, गांधी जी के ऊपर उनका अच्छा काम है. पांचों का, मिस्टर पांचों का, मेरा ख्याल है आपने उस मिस्टर पांचों को कुछ सुना होगा आपने. बात नहीं हो पाई है और शरद मोहन जी नहीं जुड़ पा रहे हैं. तो अब नीरज जी, अब आप क्या करें हम लोग?
Now I will like to request Dr. Jyoti Vindal ma'am. Ma'am is the Vice Chancellor of Sri Aurobindo University. So ma'am, I request you to give your presentation.
Good evening, and once again I'm very thankful to Professor Narayan for giving me this platform and for permitting me to be associated with this wonderful society for empowerment. I was also very impressed to hear Mr. Alfonso, and just to let you know, I'm deeply interested in Mexico, way of life of women in Mexico. I've done a lot of study on that. And recently I read a book, how a woman in Mexico flee from Mexico to United States and all those things, you know. So again, it's very heartening to know that women of Mexico and Latin America are now waking up and the society is accepting the challenges. I'm going to be very brief in my presentation. Neeraj, can I have my presentation? I'm just talking today of Gandhiji's vision, how he wanted the Abla Nari to become a Sabla Nari. For those who do not understand Hindi, a woman who was a part of a weakened society of the country, he wanted them to become the most empowered citizens, and that is what his vision was about. Neeraj, can we have the presentation, please?
Just one minute, ma'am. 1 minute.
Today we have Narayan sir, Dr. Anupma Dave has also joined us. I can see her now
Oh,
in the field.
so we welcome
She's
her.
professor of obstetrics gynecology here, yeah.
Ma'am, is the screen visible?
So I'm just going to be brief. Yes, we can see. Yeah. So I'm going to be talking about Gandhiji's vision from Abla Nari of yesteryears to Sabla Nari of today. Can I have next one? Gandhiji always believed that it's not the man that makes the vision, but it's the vision that makes the man. And yes, you can see in these three photographs, these are the transformation of women. We can see that in the British era, in the era where there were Maharanis, and we can see a small girl child all decorated to be the new bride. And then how women in the rural India had started standing up to their rights, and then of course where our Indian women have reached. Next please. Gandhiji always thought that women in all the ways were much superior because they had much more moral and spiritual strength. Also, they were capable of great self-sacrifices. They could also suffer in silence, and that's why that gave them infinite strength. But this strength, unfortunately, was not realized in those days, and it was not channeled in the proper way. Next, please. He also worried a lot about security of women in India, and as we can see, even today, the security is a big issue. And he did say that when a woman can walk freely on the roads at night, that day we can say that we've achieved independence. And here I would like to take a detour and tell you that my daughter stays in Hong Kong, and it's a small country, but she says that, Mama, even if I come back at 2 o'clock in the night, even if somebody as much as shouts, you just need to dial, and within no time, the police is around you. So the women's security is paramount there. And somehow this women's security has to be ingrained in our Indian society, inside the minds of our people. Unless and until we do that, our women cannot be secure. Next. Actually, when in Gandhiji's era, the average lifespan of an Indian woman was only 27 years. You can imagine, as compared to today's, where we have women in our lifespan is late 70s and early 80s. And there was a big number of maternal mortality and neonatal deaths, infant mortality. Child marriages were very common. Widows were large in number, they were not allowed to remarry, and only 2% of the women had any kind of education. Next, please. The women never had any identity of themselves. They always practiced Parda system. They were not permitted to leave the house unless they were accompanied by men. And they had to cover their faces always. They were not allowed to show their face in public. And even those who could go to school at all had to be going in a covered vehicle. I mean, it was covered tanga, they used to call horse-driven carriages, where it was covered from all sides so that their faces could not be seen in public. Next, please. So that was the society where Gandhiji started having this dream. He thought that it's not women who need to be strong politically. They said he said the freedom fight also meant economic and social reform for women. Next, please. Next, please. And he always thought that basic women's rights was always equality, whether it is in social sphere, economic sphere, and as you can, or political sphere. As you can see, these two village women who are sitting and smiling are actually sarpanch of their villages. So this is the right which now we have reached. Next. He always thought that if a woman is educated, you have educated the whole family. And the lack of education and lack of information, these are the root causes of evil. And he said that women has to be educated as much, if not more than a man. Next, please. He also thought that mother is the biggest teacher for any child. And today, on Mother's Day, I strongly believe so. And he said that intellectually, mentally, and spiritually, woman is equivalent or more than a man, and she can participate in every activity. Next, please. I'm just going to talk of three evils which he thought were anti-women. The first was dowry, and he said that any man, any boy who makes dowry a condition to marriage discredits his education, his country, and dishonors the womanhood. So he said that this dowry system should be totally abolished. Next. The second thing which he was very much against was the female infanticide. Unfortunately, even today, this is still on, and there are some states, and Madhya Pradesh is unfortunately one of them, where the women to men ratio is still not as per the limit, what it should be. Always the Indian society, even today, differentiates between a son and a daughter. And we as gynecologists often see this when a third or fourth daughter is born. Next. But if we consider the progress, it's been a tremendous, amazing progress. We've seen a whole generation of women leaders who have come up influenced by Gandhiji's vision. And this progress is enormous. Next, please. We have seen all these women who have reached some place in their fields, and these are the progress which has been achieved by our country based on Gandhiji's vision. Next, please. But somewhere we went wrong. Somewhere Gandhiji's agenda did not pick up so much speed as we wanted, and that's only because of the grassroots problems in Indian politics. Because even today, there's a continued exploitation of women, and this is primarily because moral values of societies need to be increased. Of course, there's poverty and social service, job dignity, and self-reliance. These are the issues where the woman should have been given proper coverage, and she was not. Next. However, if today all the women who are today in this platform, all of us, if we are working today, if we are working in our offices, in our hospitals, in our educational institutions, and even factories, without any fear, without any hesitation, this is only because the roots of this system were laid by Gandhiji and his followers 90 years back. And that is the legacy we need to carry on. Next, please. So on this Mother's Day, let us all take a solemn vow that we will need to educate every possible woman child. We will need to propagate and instill a sense of equality, and why equality, even superiority in our women colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Binder. You have made a very good presentation. And as you all know, that Society for Empowerment is working to empower the uh, poor women from rural India and tribal India through education. That is one of our important impediments for the empowering the women. So you are very much correct that Gandhiji, whose legacy we are, is that day we see women in offices and universities in all walk of life. So that is true. Now I will request. So Mr. Pancho is here. Uh, uh, so you see, where Mexico, we're talking about the women of the Mexico. So just now, the Dr. Bindal was telling she is also interested in Mexico, working on Mexico women and all that. As you are interested in working in on the living guardians of India, that is the only community, social human living being on the globe. So if you come to them, then we can have a exchange program. You come to that, this, do your this, and the members of the Society of Empowerment will go to Mexico and Latin America. That will be your responsibility. And when you come here, then it will be our responsibility. We will take care of it. If you agree with that, then we will we will do the rest of the paperwork, and then it can materialize. So it is all up to you. This is my proposal. We are interested in visiting your social laboratory and the Gandhi's one. So we will wait for your formal letter. Okay. So now
Wow,
I will request. You
great.
agree with this?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. Please come to
okay,
Mexico.
okay.
Yeah, and I can give you contacts, Dr. Pindal, event with these women movements and with women and with feminists and those who are in the grassroots working with them. I mean, I'll be glad, but also I think you want to meet with the women, with the who are organizing. So of course I can put you in contact and I can give you the link so you can do something. And of course with the laboratory and the youth network, we will be glad to receive you to share about our movements, our reality, our culture. Of course, that it's also very rich as Indian culture, and the food. It's also very spicy here in Mexico, so you will love it. So yeah, thank you, and of course we will go. We'll go to India anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Poncho, to agree with our proposal. And our patron, Dr. A.K. Pandey, is also here. And I think he will also agree with this proposal. And he will support this proposal. So we will follow with the paperwork, and uh, this we will see that it gets through. Now I will request Dr. uh, Shashi Balaji from Gwalior. She is from Gwalior. She is a medical practitioner, and
Yeah,
she will.
yeah. Welcome,
So
Dr.
please,
Sasibala Bhosle, ma'am. Uh,
Hello.
uh,
Yes. Thank you, sir. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Narayan, sir, for giving me this opportunity, and Dr. Jyotibinder, ma'am, who introduced me to all the glitterati here. And I must say, I would like to applaud the efforts of your society. Great guts and gumption are needed, are some of the fascinating insights into the minds of the people who take time who take time and who make efforts to change the face of the world. And that's what Gandhiji was doing, and that's what I'm thankful to Professor Narayan sir. He's carrying the torch forward. We are doing everything we could to bring back peace, happiness, what dreams Gandhiji envisaged into this world. In the chaos of turbulence unleashed by the pace of change, the psychological anomie it breeds, and the social uprootedness it genders. As they say, reality does not usually coincide with our anticipation. So, with the onslaught of this pandemic, a veneer of sophistication, especially the males who had been cooped up with their spouses. Can you play my slide, please, Ashish?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, great opportunity indeed in this August company. So, today I'm going to elaborate on an important dimension of women and COVID. It is like walking on eggshells. Next, please. To call the woman the weaker sex is libel. It's man's injustice to women. If strength means moral power, then women are immeasurably men's superior. This is what Gandhiji ingrained this idea into us. So, next, please. Now, the impacts of COVID on men. Economic impacts. Now, economic impacts for many of us, COVID has been just a lockdown for us. It is inconvenient for us. We are not getting regular groceries or regular not going out, no partying, but we couldn't go out for a normal places of business. We couldn't visit family or friends. We couldn't socialize publicly. Though some people get the freedom, but we all know those who are intelligent, they know it is better to stay at home. So out of the house was just a matter. Previously we used to go out if the going at the home gets like cooped up in the home gets tough for anybody. We used to go out and have a day out with our friends. So that was something to take tide over that crisis when you were not seeing eye to eye with your husband or anybody. So with that, we could see that impact or economic impact is so much. Once you are economically independent and you have a spending power, that is very, very important. That spending power goes. So many girls, ladies have lost their jobs and they are now hand to mouth. They have to be at their husband's mercy and they have to encroach upon their long lost savings. So it is having an impact on the psyche too. Health impact also suffers because being at home, fretting, fuming, you feel mentally at loss and you get constant sniggering. All these things have an impact on the health. See, mental health is very important. And if you're mentally not very happy, then physical health also suffers. You don't like doing anything, you lose sleep, and you are just, they can say, all we are becoming the victims of, and our breaking point is nearing. So, gender based violence is now putting forth. So, this gender based violence was there, but due to this pandemic, it has become worse. As practicing gynecologist, 1 in 3 women I have seen have experienced the act of violence, and the number of cases against the women are apparent amounting to a shadow pandemic. You can call it a shadow pandemic, and that is not only in India, we are now faced with that globally. So, women trapped at home with their abusers and they have no connection to the outside world as they have limited phone services too. All their mobiles have been, you never know what sort of impact the husband will have on you. So, the situation for these women is much worse. As I told you about the economic constraints also. And to top it all, your school going, college going children are all are there and they take their mothers for granted. Even today, as we celebrate Mother's Day, but mothers, I feel, are the best sounding boards. So the brunt of anger of husband, children, growing in-laws, everybody falls on the shoulder of the women. So the impacts of the COVID on women are plenty. Next, please. Next, please, Neeraj. So now there is a Johari window model, they say. That is Joseph Lift and Harrington. They had devised this window model, and it has 4 windows that tells us about the open window. Now the open window tells us that what you people perceive as you, what you are, and that it is known to you. So it is open for all. Now the blind spot is people others see you, but that blind spot is not known to you. That you come around information that you don't know about yourself, but people form an impression about you. And hidden is hidden self, they say. Information about yourself you know, but others don't know. And there is one more unknown self. That is information about you that neither you know nor others know. And in this pandemic, or we can call it apocalypse, it is this unknown self that is coming to the fore in the stressful times. So, this unknown self is guiding us, and we are able to tackle this pandemic with the help of our inner tensile strength. Next, please. So, our endeavor should be to empower this woman. Women have, as I said, some women in these difficult times have evolved. Their hidden talents are coming to the fore. They are finding solace in artistic expressions, mainly music, paintings, poetry. Some people are pursuing their long lost passions and dreams, and with the help of internet are able to polish their innate abilities, which is making them swim by tide over this. Cooking, they say, it has come up as a great stress buster. So women are winning hearts everywhere. Woes are many, but women can wow all. So we must vow to empower our women. That was our Gandhiji's dream. Next, please. No, there was some conclusion. Yes. Conclusion. So to call woman the weaker sex is a libel, and it's a man injustice to women, as I said. No, please, can you come to the conclusion part now? Yes. So that this apocalypse, in a few ways, is an advantage that women have discovered their tensile inner strength, efficiently managing homes, children, husbands, managing illnesses, managing finances at the same time, finding time to bring their entrepreneurship qualities too. So, in spite of walking on eggshells, women are reaching their destinations with their heads firmly on their shoulders, and this is what Gandhiji had envisaged. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Balaji. You have made a good presentation. Now, the lady from Motihari, Deepshikha. Deepshikha is with us or not?
No, sir. Deepshika ji is not here.
So she's not joined, and she's not picking up the phone also. Maybe she's caught up because she has these duties of deputy collector. So
Yes.
maybe she's caught up, and maybe she'll join later because she did say
Yeah.
that she will join. So maybe we can move on to the next person.
So next speaker.
So yes, sir. So I would like to invite our patron, Dr. A.K. Pandey, sir, IAS.
For his observations.
Thank you, Ashish Meeraj, for giving me opportunity at this epoch of the webinar. Is women from constraints to freedom. His words are correct. Women's from constraints to empowerment. So there is no doubt that during last few years, 20, 30 years, women in India, their status has changed. And it is also fact that many of the constraints which we felt in those days, that has gone. But it is an epoch of time. What about hundreds of years before that? What about thousands of years before that? And what about the future of empowerment? Will it be possible men and women exactly equivalent status in society they can gain? Somehow we have a fundamental kind of thinking that from where constraint comes, we never think about constraints comes from the willingness to live, because the most ruthless law of nature is survival of the fittest by Darwin. As life goes on, those who fit into the things they survive, and those who do not fit they finish. That genetic arrangement becomes many species have died for that. Many races have gone extinct. Even today, we are uh, saying that many species are in danger because their life force has gone. Many tribal cults, they are going to extinct, and we say that it is dangerous. So where is that fundamental reason which has compromised constraints of the women and made man in a position to exploit women in history? Some say that it was the Mughal period in which India entered into this epoch. But when we go very far off in the history, uh, the physiological reason is also considered by some experts, because for the continuation of life of human species, it is the human child which takes longest period to become self-independent, and in which the first period is most critical. Now, any danger to women during pregnancy, that finishes the life. And as we came into civilization, whole the effort was that how to save the mortality rate. Means you may call it medically or you may call it in simple languages, that dangerous period, that risky period, how to save that. And all the restrictions which have been imposed on women by male partner have their justification in that. But as come with medical facilities, that period has lessened in life. Economics, as we medically went into advancement, that period has lessened, and that created a time in which the women were free to think, free to move, and free from dangers. I simply have personal example. It will be best because first-hand examples are the best. No logic can be overcome by that. My sister lives in Gujarat. Gujarat is because his place. Perhaps the effect has been seen most maximum in that area. We live in Bihar, Patna. We were living in Bihar side. So I went to Gujarat with her. Suddenly, at 9 p.m. in the night, we were just talking for lunch. She stood up, went outside, started the car, and went out. We had all mobile phones, everything was there. We didn't care to ask where you have gone. Nor she said where she has gone. At 9:45, she came back. Her husband was also with her. We were talking. She said that one of my friends, Saheli, has reached railway station. She had no transport, so she asked me. I have picked up and dropped her home and came back. I said, wonderful. Matlab, you can dare without asking anybody. Then why should I ask? There is no reason. In the reverse, when she came to Patna, around 8:30, she said that I have to go to pick up some bread or milk. I said, no, no, it is not possible. Why you should go? We don't like. I will come and we shall go. Now, let us believe that Gujarat is another part and Bihar is another place. But Gujarat is necessarily advanced, more educated, more intelligent. I believe that basic reason living good and some courage. Slowly breaking up. It is only matter of mechanism. It is only matter of who takes the lead, who takes the risk to be the first going ahead. I think in this seminar, overall thing is that male-female distinction, whatever biological distinction is there, but when question comes from power, it is definitely thinking, risk, taking risk to that side. And that will lead to women empowerment as Gujarat has given the lead. It is not the foreign which can give the lead. It is our own people, and we will get a better era, better world. No living. Thank you. I think these small thoughts is mine on the subject, and I have expressed. Maybe I may be wrong in some logic, but it just thank you for hearing patiently. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. A.K. Pandey Sahab, who have made two important points. One is that it's not only the education or it's not only the decision of a family which will allow a women to be empowered. That it also depends on the social climate as well as the development perspective. So if these two are absent, then empowering the women will become not that much emphatic and important as as the case with the Gujarat he has described. He has said of that. So the two aspects he has emphasized, he has presented. Now it's now I will request Dr. Sayuri Parara to present her views.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening to everyone from Sri Lanka. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah,
Yes, you are clear.
you are audible.
I am trying to get my slides. Can you see this? Is it clear?
No, ma'am, kindly click the share button.
Okay.
Share screen. Yeah, fine.
Can you see this?
Yeah,
Can you
fine.
see? Okay. So, good evening from Sri Lanka. And much thanks to Professor Narayan and Dr. Pandey for once again inviting me to be a part of this wonderful webinar. A brief introduction as to who I am for those of you who don't know me. I work as a consultant psychiatrist and a senior lecturer in the biggest university in Sri Lanka. So I do teaching, lecturing for medical students, and I also serve as a clinician at the teaching hospital affiliated to the university. So, in fact, I was very thrilled to take up this opportunity because I am particularly concerned about the mental health of women, amongst my other interests. So, I have a few slides that I would like to share with you. Now, we know the WHO is the agency responsible for the international public health. So, what does the WHO say about women's health before we move on to women's mental health? So, the WHO says that the health of women is of particular concern because in many societies they are disadvantaged by discrimination and various socio-cultural factors, which I think our previous speakers also spoke about and highlighted. So the WHO well recognizes the need and the importance and the concern that we should have on women's health in general. And we all know that women's health is very much linked to their status in society. And in Sri Lanka, we are very culturally similar to India. And we know the status of the women in our country is very similar to yours. We have a lot of inequality, a lot of discrimination, and we know that this has a huge impact on women's status in the society because it directly affects their mental health. Now, despite this, the WHO has also said that the status and well-being of women in general is very, very low. Now, I know these are old statistics, but believe me, the numbers are higher than now. Now, if you look at the charts, I know it's not very clear. The first chart on your left is low psychological distress. So if you interpret it, if I'm to not confuse you, the higher the chart, the higher the psychological distress. The higher the chart on your right, the lower your well-being. Okay, so you can see that women in orange and men in blue, psychological distress and general well-being is poorer in women as compared to men, and this is coming from the WHO, and the numbers are continuing to rise. So the status and well-being of millions of women, these are global figures, remains quite low. Now, as a consultant psychiatrist, I'm particularly focused on mental health disorders. As you know, so mental disorders are a global public health concern. I'll tell you why. Because if you cross-sectionally look at all of the disorders, you can see that mental health, the chunk on your right bottom of the chart shows that it like 25%, it is 1/4 almost of all health problems. This is very new data, is mental health. So 1 in 4 people will suffer from a mental health condition at some point in their life, men and women alike. So this is why mental health is such a public health concern. Now, since we are focusing more on women and mental health, now you know that gender equality, I think we had some brilliant speakers earlier on who spoke very much about the concern of gender equality and gender inequality. And gender equality, you know, is a human right. But unfortunately, there's a lot of gender inequality. What about in mental health? Does there exist any gender inequalities and disparities in mental health? The answer is yes. And this has been recognized by many great people. And in fact, Mahatma Gandhi himself, he said that woman is the companion of man. I think we heard some very beautiful quotes throughout today's lectures. Woman is the companion of man, gifted with equal mental capacity. How beautifully he has shifted women to the equal grounds of men. And as a mental health practitioner, it gives me such joy to see this kind of quotes coming not from yesterday, not from last year, but from way back when Mahatma Gandhi preached these wonderful words. So, although we recognize and we want women to have recognition as having equal mental capacity, unfortunately, in the field of mental health, we see quite a lot of disparities and discrepancies. Now, one global concern that we have, not only in Sri Lanka, but globally, is human trafficking. You know that almost half of all trafficking victims are women. Half of trafficking victims are women. Right? And actually, it is the latest shows that it is approximating 70%. And of that, 75% are sexually exploited and 35% are of that. So this of the 70%, there's also a 35% who are in forced labor. And obviously, there is an overlap between sexual exploitation and forced labor, which is very, very distressing news, particularly as a female concerned with psychiatric conditions. What is the link between trafficking, sexual exploitation, and forced labor and women? Why? Because we know that these conditions end up with the manifestations of depression, substance abuse, PTSD, and various psychological consequences of rape, slavery, and sexual exploitation. This is a well-known fact. And if you move on next to mental illnesses in general, so we spoke of one of the biggest problems, the human trafficking, with the implications on mental health. Now let's look at mental illnesses themselves. I've highlighted 3 of the main mental illnesses that we speak about, and you have probably heard of this. What is the discrepancy there? If you look at schizophrenia, probably the most serious psychiatric condition that we have, unfortunately, there's a higher frequency of positive symptoms. What I mean by that is psychotic symptoms. The delusions, the hallucinations is more in women. When you look at bipolar disorder, women with bipolar disorder, they have a more rapidly cycling, which means they have higher rates of relapse, even with treatment. There's more comorbidity. So you know that mental illnesses are frequently comorbid with other conditions. So bipolar disorder and personality disorder, bipolar disorder and substance abuse, bipolar disorder and various other conditions. The comorbidity is also more with women. So the moment you have more comorbidities, the more likely you are hospitalized. I hope that. And then you look at probably the most prevalent, one of the most prevalent mental illnesses, depression. We know that depression is overrepresented in women. Not only that, relapses are higher. That means more frequent. Relapses are more frequent, more persistent, and are associated with higher rates of suicide in women. Now, these facts are for women as opposed to men. So you can see that within the mental illness framework itself, 3 of the major mental health conditions, you can see how disadvantaged the women are. We will talk about why this is, what are the contributing factors, but I just wanted you to see the impact that women are suffering with the mental illnesses per se. Now, you know that in psychiatry, I spoke to you just a few minutes ago, that often there's not only one diagnosis. So there's depression and anxiety, There's depression and personality disorder. There's bipolar disorder and personality disorder. So there's a lot of comorbidity. And I told you, again, there's a preponderance of or overrepresentation of women with dual diagnosis system. And obviously, this increases the severity, the disability, utilization of services, longer hospital stay, longer separation from family and loved ones, longer periods of time away from work for the women. What about when it comes to treatment? So we spoke about causes of men, one of the main causes of mental health conditions. We spoke about the discrepancies within the mental health conditions themselves. What about when it comes to treatment? Now, if you look at depression, which is one of the biggest conditions, the most prevalent conditions, doctors are more likely to diagnose depression in women even when with identical symptoms and same scores on standardized measures as compared to their counterparts. This is not my personal data. This is all taken straight from psychiatric mental health literature. So this is the unfortunate condition. This is not only in Sri Lanka, this is a global problem. Then you know that the societal role that a woman has, the role in the society has a very direct impact on their mental health. I think we spoke about the economy and how the loss of your earning capacity can have a significant impact. So when it comes to income, the role patterns of women are not evenly distributed across income levels. Unfortunately, low-income mothers have higher levels of depression. Poorer women are exposed to more threatening and uncomfortable livelihoods. Then I think Dr. Bonsley, I think, ma'am, you spoke about GBV as being the shadow pandemic. I couldn't agree with you more. And I was so happy that you brought this out. I have particular interest in GBV, gender and gender-based violence. And in Sri Lanka, we are mirroring the statistics seen globally, I think. And it is alarmingly high. Women are, as you know, at greater risk of being assaulted by an intimate partner, not some stranger on the road. And violence at home tends to be repetitive, you know that, and tends to escalate. So the next time will be worse than if she is getting assaulted today, the next assault will be worse. That's what you mean by escalating. And currently, with the pandemic and forced closure and shutdown of travel and all of these restrictions, as ma'am mentioned, a lot of women are stuck at home with their partners without having any way of reaching out. Why am I so interested in gender-based violence? Because violence, as you know, is related to high rates of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, you know that GBV is more commoner than you think. 1 in 3 have had physical and/or sexual violence. 1 in 2 have experienced some form of sexual harassment, and so on. I think you know the statistics. This is, of course, European data. We have a huge ongoing study currently going on in Sri Lanka, and I'm also involved in that, where we are trying to build up some local statistics, and we think that it will mirror these global statistics. So, violent victimization or GBV increases women's risk of unemployment, reduces income, ends up with divorce. So therefore, GBV or gender-based violence further weakens the women's social position. And I keep harping on the fact that the social position has a very important impact on their mental health. So GBV is a massive hindrance to women's social position and therefore her mental health. Once women stop experiencing violence and they feel safe, they are in a secure environment, you see a marked reduction in levels of depression. Women become more functional, more independent, more able to work, more able to earn, more able to care for their family and immediate well-being of their family. So overall, there is a huge improvement in health quality of life. Now, we're very quick to say that the reason that women get depressed or they have other disorders more is because of this, because of their vulnerability, because of some sort of genetic problem that they have. Actually, the excess of depression and other disorders is as a result of stressors, inequality, discrepancies in the way they are treated, and the social stressors that they face than due to biologically based factors. I hope I'm clear. I just want to make that point very clear. There's a firmly held belief that it is a biological vulnerability that makes women more prone to relapse or more prone to develop mental health conditions, whereas there's new news coming in that it is this gender inequality, the discrepancies and the disparities within their social structure, social framework, economy, independence, all of these are playing a huge role in keeping them mentally ill or mentally well. So I think a lot of our speakers speak about it's time that women go free from the constraints and the restrictions that are placed upon them. I've shown a famous art of a woman who's trapped inside a glass container with the lid being put tight and she's trapped there. But I think it's time to put these things behind. I think it's quite time that women go free and women become empowered. And I'm proud to say that in Sri Lanka we have lots of how do I say support for empowering women. A lot of NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are coming in and extending their help to help women become more empowered. And I'm a proud supporter of the movement as well. So once again, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. And I hope that I was able to explain to you the mental health perspective of women, which is something I'm quite passionate about. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Pereira. You have made a good presentation, and the mental health is of great concern even in this pandemic. Because you know, in this World War, Second World War, or even in First World War, the first study which was made on by Ruth Benedict on that is known as culture and personality, and there is another book that is called the Showed and Culture. So these two books are based on the study of the psychological personality of the army at that time, and on the basis of the inputs given in that research was led to winning the battle, that World War. They won only because of that. So that study, that was not a field study was conducted and all that. That was based on those days there was no mobile phone or phone also. It was not that popular, not available. But the study was conducted through communication from the anthropologists to that of the field people. So that I think you might have gone through those studies of Ruth Benedict and Margaret Mead. So that is even today, if you talked about the human rights of the women, the human rights of the women is globally, even today it's a problem, whether it is a national human rights commission or any national human rights commission. they have not been able to solve the problem of violation of human rights of women, which is very much prevalent, whether it is Sri Lanka or India or any other country. Even that Poncho was talking about the Mexico and Latin America, they are all is also there. So you have made a very good presentation, and
Uh, Dr. Dr. Pereira, I will request you to end the share button. Please close the share button in your background.
That okay?
Yeah, fine, fine.
now we will
Sir,
request Dr. Dave, Dr.
yeah,
Professor Dave. She is a professor and dean in Indore Medical College. So I will please present your paper.
Good evening to all of you.
good evening, ma'am.
Actually, I'm trying to share my screen.
Kindly click the share button
Yes.
and in that select the screen. There is another window of selecting screen.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
trying,
fine,
but,
fine.
but I cannot
Now,
see the screen.
ma'am,
I
ma'am,
cannot
now
see my screen.
you need to open your presentation. Your screen
Okay.
is visible, ma'am. Your screen is
Just a
visible.
minute. I'm sorry.
Please,
But see, I cannot move this thing so that I get
no, you
hands
just
on to this presentation.
ma'am, you just minimize this window
Minimize it.
and
Okay.
start in it. We
Okay.
minimize this window and start your presentation. Minimize this window and start your presentation. Yeah, you're fine, ma'am.
So
Fine,
good
it's
evening to
visible.
all of you. At the outset, I would like
Yes,
to thank Dr. Jyoti Bindal ma'am for inviting me to speak on this platform of Society of Empowerment. The theme today being women from constraints to empowerment. Now, my topic, that is COVID and pregnancy. Today, we are facing the second wave of corona pandemic, and our pregnant women too are being tremendously affected by it. I'm sorry that my presentation is a bit more technical or it has medical aspects, but my only aim is to create an awareness. Women in our society, the decision making mainly goes on the family members. Here too, in pregnancy and in COVID, sometimes some decisions need to be made in favor of the women instead of the baby. So I would like to highlight some important aspects so that the medical aspects become clear. Now we all know that COVID is a severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2. It is a global public health emergency, and in the past, also, two epidemics have been caused by these coronaviruses. But the thing now is that we have more new variants coming up, and the severity of the condition is increasing. Information regarding management is rapidly evolving, and there are many guidance being given by many organizations, but it is constantly being updated and expanded. If you look at pregnancy, pregnancy is a physiological state. It predisposes women to viral respiratory infection. So in pregnancy, women are more prone to have this viral infections. There are many changes which occur in pregnancy. They occur in the immune as well as the cardiopulmonary system, that is the heart. So women in the first wave were had more of mild symptoms and asymptomatic. They were asymptomatic and there was not much effect on pregnant women. But now in the second wave, morbidity is increasing and more women are being affected and they are dying. If you look at the mode of transmission, we know that it is human to human transmission. It is through respiratory droplets, secretions, feces, and fomites. Even the virus is said to stay on certain surfaces for a longer time. Prevention is always better than cure, and just like others, pregnant women should also follow these preventive methods: stay at home, physical distancing of more than 2 meters, hand hygiene, disinfecting surfaces which are frequently touched, wearing of this non-valved multi-layer cloth face covering or a non-medical disposable mask, avoiding. So they need to stay at home, and if at all they have to go out, they must wear a double mask nowadays and avoid close contact with ill individuals. Even children of these mothers should not play with other children from households because children are being more affected nowadays. These There is an exuberant inflammatory response which we call as cytokine release syndrome. This leads to critical and fatal illness. So this condition usually comes on after 7 days of the illness, which is the most severe phase. At this stage, I would like to advise that those pregnant women who are having symptoms should come to the hospital earlier. These are the various outcomes which occur, like some have pneumonia, they need oxygen, some 13% had severe disease, admission to ICU, even invasive ventilation, and as you can see, 0.6% of women can die. The symptoms which we all know, like fever, cough, dyspnea, anosmia or smell abnormalities, ageusia, sore throat, headache, fatigue, confusion, etc. There is no single symptom which we can call as diagnostic, but if a woman has any of these symptoms, then she should come for treatment earlier. Some of them have fever, cough, dyspnea, loss of taste. Less common symptoms were sore throat, rhinorrhea, nasal congestion, nausea, vomiting, and loss of smell. Now, an important thing which I would like to highlight is the symptoms which occur in this corona infection may overlap with common symptoms of pregnancy. So as usually, pregnant women have symptoms of fatigue, shortness of breath, nasal congestion, nausea and vomiting, and these symptoms also occur in corona. So sometimes it becomes difficult to decide whether she is infected or not. Complications of this infection could be severe, like acute respiratory distress syndrome, even heart problems like myocardial injury and other organ systems can be affected. Those pregnant women who were more likely in need of ICU care were those who had severe disease, who had an age more than equal to 35, who were obese, had high blood pressure, or had diabetes. So with these women, they need to be careful. Now, as for other viral infections, it is always thought of whether this infection is going to be transmitted to the baby or not. That is vertical transmission, mother to child transmission. In case of corona infection or COVID-19, there is a very less chance of congenital infection to the baby, that is less than 3%. Most of the infections which occur in the babies are because of respiratory droplets to which the baby is exposed after delivery, who is in contact with mother or caregivers who are having this infection. Overall, the chances of the baby not having this infection are quite high. Now, these were the various lab tests which are being done in, and as you can see, if there is a rise or elevation of any of these parameters, then immediate treatment is required. Now, severity of disease is classified into mild, severe, and critical. In mild disease, the woman only has symptoms like fever, fatigue, cough, and there are no radiological findings. By this, I mean the lung changes do not occur. But at any time, if her oxygen concentration falls less than 94, or she has changes in her inflammatory changes in her lungs, then it means that the condition is severe and she needs immediate treatment. How to diagnose this condition? If a pregnant woman has fever, cough, or difficulty in breathing, or even upper respiratory tract symptoms, diarrhea, or loss of sense of smell or taste, or she has any other lower respiratory tract symptom for which we do not find any clear-cut cause, or if she is reciting in a location where there is community transmission, or if she's in close contact with a confirmed or suspected case of COVID within 14 days, she needs to be tested. The test which is done is the RT-PCR for SARS-CoV-2. Now, at times when in emergency a woman is admitted, in those cases, we can do a rapid test for SARS-CoV, and if that turns out to be positive, then it is diagnostic. In pregnancy, sometimes false negative results also come. By this, I mean that the woman is having the infection, but the report tests negative. All those cases, if the suspicion is very high, needs to be retested within a few days, and in the meantime, all precautions have to be taken. A lot is said about X-rays, their effect on pregnancy. Well, X-ray is a diagnostic modality for identifying lung infection in case of COVID. And a single chest X-ray has a very low fetal radiation dose. You can see 0.005 to 0.1 milligram, while the dose which causes side effects is more than 610 milligram. So an X-ray is essential to identify lung infection. Now, CT can also be performed if indicated. That also has a very low fetal radiation dose. Sometimes an ultrasonography of the lung can also be done. If you're doing an ultrasonography for the baby, you can do it in the lung to identify any infection. So chest imaging is very essential in identifying the severity of the disease. This table shows the same thing, that very low fetal
Ma'am, there is a voice issue from your end.
I think we lost audio connection with Anupma.
It's hanged.
Anupma ma'am? I think there is some connection issue. So we should.
You got disconnected.
Yes, sir. She is disconnected now.
You may talk to Sharad Mohanji.
Actually, I got a message from Sharad Mohanji, and he has sent me his presentation, and he told me that he will try to connect next time in next webinar. Today he is not available due to connection issue, and I also got a message from Deepsika ji that she is stuck in a case there. So She is saying that she is deeply sorry that she can't attend right now.
Okay. So now the presentation is.
I think even for Anupma's sir, I think Dr. Anupma Dave also got disconnected. So maybe we can, ask her to send her presentation to Neeraj ji, and
Yeah,
then we can
I
circulate to all our attendees.
I have her presentation, ma'am. I have her
We can
presentation.
circulate it so that we can all see it. And maybe,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Professor Narayan, we can have your concluding remarks now.
If there is
Yes,
any
Neeraj?
question, if there is any question on any paper or any presentation,
My big
you want to
question of
know.
the day is, when is this all going to end? As we were in this webinar, sir, even you would remember when you came to Gwalior Mansik Arogya Shala, we had a very bright doctor called Dr. Arun Jain. And Arun's
Yes,
duty always was to look after the special reporters' stay and food, and he was the one who came to collect you from your guest house, and he was the one who was looking after the food. I always gave him that duty, and he was so much into gardening and all. And we just got the news that we lost him to COVID. I didn't know that he was admitted. I mean, it's so sad. And he was, when I worked with him for more than 10 years, I don't even know where to go.
very
So,
sad.
all this
Batch
is very sad. Dr. Bhosle would know because we all work
there
together.
together when we
Very
had
sad.
come to receive you. He was with me and he was my batchmate. Very meticulous, very good handwriting, very everything prim and proper. Everything he used to do with so much of sincerity. He was a radiologist.
Yes, he was a radiologist. I remember getting him an ultrasound machine. And
It's very sad.
before I
Very sad.
Nayan sir, kindly give your concluding remarks.
So today the day's webinar. Before I give the concluding remark, she has Dr. Bindal and Dr. Shashiwala has mentioned about Dr. Jain, who they were associated with for a long time, but I was also associated with him. So we pray to God for give his soul rest, and we have we can convey our condolence to his family, Bindalji and Malaji. Now coming back to his deliberations on from constraint to empowerment. The Mother's Day, we selected, we choose this topic, and it was vision of Dr. Jyoti Bindal, who organized webinar on this. Women are always worshipped in Indian culture and civilization. They have the highest position in our society, and especially the mother. Mother, as there is nobody can compensate the role of mother is considered as a good teacher, as a good friend, and a good manager to manage the. In one of my book that is on uh, women development through rural programs, I have mentioned about how the rural programs. That book was like a Bible for the Planning Commission. several years. Many programs for the women development were drafted on the basis of the recommendations made in that book. So, and after say 30 years or so, when I look back to my contribution of that rural women development through rural program, uh, when I see the different places where those programs in different states where those programs were implemented, had a very wonderful impact on women, especially among the especially among the tribals and especially among the tribals and the rural women. But later on, in almost each state, those programs were implemented, and it has a good impact. And in this Niti Aayog, those programs are being followed for the development of the women. And but the development of the women and equality of the women, as Dr. A.K. Pandey, our patron, has very rightly said that these are the two issues. Equality, constitutional women have the equality, right to equality. But whether it is in real situation, whether this equality exists or it is only in the constitution. What I feel when I was in NHRC, what I feel that uh, the human rights of the women are not that much, do not draw that much of attention due to various reasons. It's not only that people don't want to address the right of equality of the women in National Human Rights Commission or in any other commission, there is a Women Commission, National Women. So, but the fact is that the people are not that interested to address the problem of the women. There is only one example which I would like to put here, and how much the uh, clinical psychologist will also have the interest in this example. I was returning after visiting it. There was a music university. There is a music university in the state of Chhattisgarh. So I was returning from there and it became late. On the way, I just wanted to have a cup of tea. The nodal officer who was traveling with me, I told him that I want to have tea. And then he said, the roadside hotel may not be good. So we will stay. We will visit the coming police station and there you can have tea and some anything which you want to have. I said, okay, but don't tell him in advance when we reach, then you tell him. When we reached that police station, I saw that three women were sitting in the police station. So my curiosity grew and I asked one of those women that why are you staying here? And when did you came to this police station? That we came here at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at that time it was 8 o'clock in the evening, late evening. So then did you had a food? Then they said no, we don't have food. I said, are you criminal? They said no, we are not criminal. Then why are you are sitting? Then I asked the police station in charge why these women are sitting from 6 a.m. What is their crime? Why you ask them to come? Then he said that her daughter married to son of another woman who was also sitting there. And the father of the daughter and father of the boy were not ready. But they have already got a marriage certificate of the magistrate, the local court. Then I asked the police station charge that why you ask them to sit for such a long time? They are now in mental trauma. You have put them in for such a long time without giving them food and water and all that. So under what uh, fiction you have asked them to be? Then he gave them. I told them that you provide them something to eat and give them tea. And then I asked, call the father of the boy and the girl. Father of the boy and girl. They were called. Then the matter was settled. Now she is married, so what can we do? If you don't want to take, she will go with her husband and she will stay somewhere else. Then they agreed that, and the boy and the girl they went happily. So this is we need when we are playing that role. We need to have some some sort of feeling for solving the problem, not for aggravating the problem. What is happening is that in the case of the women equality and women justice violation of human rights of women, that instead of solving the problem, we aggravate the problem. So neither the equality comes nor the women development. So those women who are working in the farm as a farm laborer, as a migrant laborers, their problem is different. There again the question of equality does not exist, and the mental trauma is very much there, and they have to manage. Even this lockdown, the majority or maximum number of women has the casualties. Either they died or they gave birth to their children on the road or they suffered physically. So far, no study on women has come. No study on women has come on the migrant laborer during the pandemic. That is a gray area in which we need to work, and the Society for Empowerment would like to work on that area with your support, with the support of you all. You all have made a wonderful presentation, and our patron, Dr. A.K. Pandey, is a very senior IAS, and he has done a lot of research, and he has made important contribution on education, in the field of education of the tribals, especially in the district of Jaribad, that is in the district of Jharkhand, that I personally see occasion to visit some educational institution, and there the students and the teachers were they told me about you. Now, thank you to all for participating in this webinar, and in future also, I request Dr. Jyoti Bindal to have some similar kind of webinar also can have in future. If Dr. A.K. Pandey Sahab, would you like to say something? Would you like to say something?
Yes, I was hearing patiently about the whatever facts are presented and studies are done. Somehow the strategies are not coming out. I expect some strategy for empowerment in the seminar, and I hope we will be able to extract something that how to proceed. What can be the roadmap to empowerment? Because Society of Empowerment is dedicated to find out ways and means for its objectives to empower the weaker sections in whatever way they are weaker. So definitely to carry out a strategy is another thing, but there must be something some suggestions, some recommendation where we can reach. I don't know whether anybody has in mind of some recommendation which we can record.
So in today's deliberation, that Dr. Dave has, while discussing, sharing her studies on the pregnant women and the delivery system and the fear of COVID infection and all that, she has made a practical suggestion, and that needs to be further strengthened as a strategy. I think Dr. Jyoti Bindal will share it and would like to take it further. So that is the one strategy from the medical science point of view. And Dr. Pereira, she has done wonderful studies on mental health. So she would like to share in the next webinar about the people, the women suffering from what could be the strategies for to minimize the problem of mental health among the women of Sri Lanka. So that this can be, so these are the two strategies which the Society for Empowerment is thinking of and will be implementing. Is the third one is Mr. Pancho. He is also a well-known anthropologist in Mexico, and he has made a very good laboratory of social science, social laboratory, which he is training people in Gandhian philosophy. So that is our another strategy, third strategy of today's webinar, to have a exchange program with him, and then he will come to us, to India, and to meet with the and there he will meet you, and you will be guiding him in that Tana Bagas, see the Tana Bagas. So these are the three major things which has come out today, and similarly in last webinar also something has come, but I don't remember because I was badly busy for last 3 days. That's why I could not call you this morning also, because of this COVID and some other COVID related things. So that I don't remember the last one. और नीरज जी पिछले वाला किस पे था हम लोगों का वेबिनार? लास्ट वेबिनार हम लोगों का किस पे था? उसमें ये डॉक्टर परेरा भी थी और डॉक्टर बिंदल भी थी, और उसमें दो लोग ये लोग तो थे. लास्ट किस पे था?
Buddha Gandhi and mental health.
हाँ, mental health पे. Mental health पे we have decided, as I just told you, one of these strategies, I have just decided, and in last also I have requested Dr. Shayuri Pereira and one more psychologist from USA. Two of they will be coming to us, and in Bodh Gaya we will have a say not this laboratory as Mr. Pancho says, but we will have a center where we will study the mental health of all those pilgrims who are Buddhist pilgrims who are coming to Bodh Gaya and staying there, and then they are practicing the Vipassana. You know, Dr. Pereira, you must be knowing Vipassana of Buddhism. Vipassana.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. My mother is a Vipassana meditation teacher. My mother.
That's the controlling the mind and behavior.
Absolutely.
That's the training. So with that Vipassana, first step is that they will come and visit us, and they will stay, and they will do some study, and then we will try to get some funds from somewhere, and we will establish that center as a regular basis that will come. So people from the Society for Empowerment and from Dr. Shayori Center and the other at US Center. They will be visiting us and we will be also going to that place. So these are the after 2 days and yesterday's. Likewise, we have the strategies. We are, as you know, that whenever we have time, we go with that. We have also have the understanding with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And today's webinar is being watched by the different higher officers of the different ministries and of the other key centers. So we are very much on there. This is all because of the corona that we could not get sufficient fund. Otherwise, you would had got the fund. All the fund that has been diverted to COVID vaccination and COVID, that oxygen and all those things. The fund has gone to that. This research fund all has been diverted to that. So we cannot say anything because that COVID-19 and the vaccination, the oxygen, the medicine, all those are very important. The other thing which I have not reported to you all is that the Society for Empowerment has for 5 days, we distributed medicine and food to the needy people, needy patients of Delhi in the locality. I am forgetting that, So there we have done that. So our and the problem is that in our group right now, I am in Delhi and the office is in Patna. So most of the things the setup is there to take the dictation and people are there. Here in Delhi, I have the office and I have the system, but that is not of the Society for Empowerment. So we are not getting all those things written. But these are the strategies, the latest strategies on which the Society for Empowerment is working. And as you know that since we spent money in distributing medicine and food for 5 days, now we have some shortage of fund. We don't have fund for that. We were expecting that some fund will come for this donations uh, for this charity which we did for these COVID people. Uh, but I think that some fund will come from somewhere. We are trying, but it has not come so far. So these are the strategies, and the most we expect from you that whatsoever your suggestion is there, you will do. In addition to that, we have the Society for Empowerment is one aspect. The other aspect is the Kasturba Gandhi University. I just forgot to tell you that there is a Dr. Pandey knows, but I don't think that the rest of the people know that there is a Kasturba Ashram in Northeast in which 150 women are there. They are the 100% Gandhian, and some of them have devoted their life when Gandhiji was there. When Gandhiji visited Calcutta, then you have seen that lady. She came our first or second webinar, and she explained how she got interested in Gandhiji and all that. So now they have the dearth because of dearth of fund, because of this COVID, and they are asking me that now we have nothing to support our inmates. So please do something. I'm trying, but I do not know from where to support them because these days, it's very difficult to support the Gandhian institutions and the Kasturba institutions. But somehow I'm hopeful that in a few days I will be able to at least support them for their expenses of 1 month expenses. Later on we will see because they are
Thank you.
hard hit.
Thank you.
So these are the strategies that the Society for Empowerment is working. एंड नीरज जी एक आप मेकिंग कर लीजिए ना कि जिसमें हम लोग जो ऑफिस बियरर्स हैं वो लोग रहे, एक इधर कर लीजिएगा मीटिंग, तो
Sure, sir.
उसमें
Sir,
ये
we
सब
will,
चीजें हम लोग प्रेजेंट कर लेंगे, ठीक है ना?
sure, sir. We will
Okay, so
plan. Sir.
thank you all for the presentation, your
Thank
presentation
you very
and
much.
participation in the webinar, and all for all. Once again, thank you very much, and also you are welcome for next.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Have a nice day.